Welcome to Educate and Elevate Your Employment. My name is Harriett Richmond, and my catchphrase is, I am the real HR. And the reason why I can say that, because I'm here with my good friend John Greene, and we want to help you or educate you into what is needed to advance your employment within the public sector. That's where I come in to play, or the private sector where John comes into play. And I've done it all when it comes to human resources in the public sector, from staffing and recruitment, all the way up in employee and labor relations, pay and benefits. I worked at 8 different agencies. I even have my master's in organizational development. And I'm currently working as a facilitator for various organizations in the public sector, dealing with, again, issues of recruitment and staffing, leadership. So I'm knee deep into what it takes to advance yourself in your career. Now I'm going to introduce you to my good friend John Greene so he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Hey, everybody. I'm John Greene. Like you, I've been in human resources for 35 years. Unlike you, I've been in the private sector and you've been in the public sector. So we have 2 different environments, similar experiences. Like you, I have my master's in human resources management. I'm certified through Society of Human Resources Management and the Human Resources Certification Institute. I teach individuals who are going through the certification program to become certified HR professionals. I've done everything like you, from nuts to bolts of the grunt work to recruitment to staffing, employee and labor relations, to compensation, to benefits. So between the 2 of us, I think we have a lot of knowledge to share and to help people elevate their careers and their entry into their careers.
And when we say a lot, I have 37 years. How many years do you have?
I have 35.
35. Ooh, wow, it's getting old. So I think we have a lot to share. And today we're going to talk about resumes.
Yes.
The most important part when it comes to elevating your employment. You got to get your feet in the door, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is the key to getting in. Nobody's going to know who you are unless they can read and assess what you've already done to help them achieve their organizational goals. So we're going to talk about 3 resumes today. So one of them is the chronological resume. The other is the functional resume. And lastly, there's one called the targeted resume. So like everyone throughout the world, the most popular resume style and format is the chronological resume. This one speaks for itself. It puts everything in order by date. So it's easy to follow, particularly, as you know, as a recruiter and somebody that has to look at people's experience. It's easy to follow and track to see where they've been and what they've done. So how does that work in the public sector?
Works the same way. And matter of fact, we actually favor that format in our resume system. If you use USA Jobs, I recommend that you use their resume builder in order to ensure that you uncovered all the information that's necessary in a resume for the federal government. Because what you don't, this is one of those don'ts, what you don't want to do is not have some information in it and get disqualified based on a technicality. That's one of my don'ts. Do you have any others?
I have a lot of do's.
Okay,
So
I'm glad.
As far as formatting, a nice professional summary that gives the person reading it overview of what you've done, what you can do, along with your professional experience, your education, any civic affiliations, any certifications that you have. We like to see that you also have a life outside of the work that you do and what interests you. Some of that speaks to your value systems as well in regards to your connections. One of the things that I also want to let people know is you don't have to be very verbose in these. I don't like reading paragraphs. Bullet points are great. They get to the point, but in your bullet points, just make sure that you're elevating your outcomes of what you've achieved. So for you, and also for us, I would like to see no more than 2 pages. What is it like for the government? It's 2 pages of work?
Government, we love paper. I would stay with the 2 pages too, but you won't get disqualified if yours is a little longer, 3 or 4. It's really about, can the HR specialist really capture whether you have met the specialized experience or the minimum qualifications for the position. So if you don't have it maybe in your initial job, because you said you list your most recent job first, then and it may be 2 or 3 jobs later, and there is your competencies, you want to include that in there. And that may extend your resume, but you don't want anything that'll get you disqualified from the job just because you didn't get a chance to list it. So please put it in. I always tell people, go back as far as when Betsy Ross did the flag if necessary. Whatever's necessary, right? Because you don't want to be disqualified on a technicality just because your resume may be a little too long.
Yeah, I think one of the other things in regards to keys that we know about is the dreaded applicant tracking system. So one of the nuggets that I would like to tell people who are applying for jobs, look at the job description and look at the words that are in the job description and make sure you extract some of those words into your resume, but only if you have done that. You know, if there is a task or a function you have not performed, do not put it in your resume because these are the elements of the job description they will be assessing you on. But to get past the applicant tracking system so people do see your resume, if you've done it, use the words or phrases in that job description and it will highlight that, yes, you are an A candidate. You match exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, so my words to you is to do brag, but don't embellish.
Yes.
Those are our do's and don'ts.
Yes.
Brag, but don't embellish. And John is so right. You don't want to be in a position where you just mimic the words in the vacancy announcement, thinking they won't figure it out, that you've never done that work before. Do not do that. People will figure it out, and then it will in fact impact your integrity. And even if you do squeak by, and let's say you squeak by and get in, they'll figure it out that you can't do the work. And then that is a whole different, terrible situation.
Yeah. So the chronological resume, again, is the most widely used format. But there's another one similar to it. It's the targeted resume. So with that resume, you're basically focusing on that you're a good fit for this job. You are targeting specific aspects, what's in that job description that you have done, and it shows that you are the match for this position. So one of the keys that I would like people to know is please read the job announcement. Please read the job description so you know exactly what they're looking for. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten resumes or cover letters where people have done a mass mailing and my company's ABC and they've sent it to Dear Company XYZ. Immediately, I'm like, yeah, the attention to detail isn't there, so I'm not even going to consider this since you didn't even bother to proofread. So starting there with the cover letter, I know that the resume is not going to add up to the quality that we're looking for.
And I think that's one of the great advantages to target it because it makes you target. Now, we're not talking about Target, right? We're talking about targeting your connection to your experience, to the job, and speaking to it. And you may be able to get past the HR specialist in the federal government, but you won't be able to fool the hiring manager. And as you said before, you may land on his or her desk, yep. But if he or she figures out that you just mimic the words, that you, or worse, like you said, you submitted a resume that's totally different from what was required of the job, is just something you threw together at the last minute, guess what? Your resume is going to end up in the trash can.
Yeah, we're really looking for you to explain or show the knowledge, the skills, and abilities. So we call it the KSAs. So on our sheet, that's what we're looking to assess you on. So make sure you, especially in the federal government, I know you all like storybooks. So whatever knowledge you can bring, go back to your very first job to show that I've been doing this since the very beginning of my career. You know, your skills, what skills have you built upon? What new skills do you have? And the ability to do it. So you can show that, yes, I've been in this position. I've done it before. But hey, I also had significant positive outcomes in this position to show that I am qualified. So the targeted resume really is a good resume for people who are detail oriented to highlight their background, skills, and ability.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you, John. I think that when you're putting your information together, there's a method called the CAR. And the CAR starts with your challenge. And then your A is your action. What action did you take to address that challenge? And then you want to end with the R, which is your results. And what happened? What did you do? What was your benefit that you brought to the table? So if you include that in there,
Yep.
particularly with a targeted resume, you're going to be a surefire. Again, you can kind of get past the first gate, and that's the HR specialist. But what you really want to do is attract the attention of the hiring manager enough for that person to call you in for an interview. And that's where that either the impact or the results or
Yep.
your outcomes. So make sure when you're listing your resume and your accomplishments, you call it the KSAs. We used to call it that too. Now they call it competencies. But you
Yes.
may see both terms, knowledge, skills, or abilities, or competencies. They're the same thing.
Yes.
So if you see that, hone in on that, put that in your resume if you've done it, and talk about the results. So what's your challenge? And you don't have to list the challenge in the resume, but think about what's your challenge, list your action, and then identify your results. What did you do? I'm like Janet Jackson. I tell people all the time, what have you done for me lately? So just kind of keep a mind of that thing.
Yeah, the last one that we were going to talk about is the functional resume. I know I am not a fan of it, and I know that people probably can't use it in the federal government. So for those people who have the functional resume really does have an audience, particularly for those people who have taken a break from the workforce. Perhaps there are parents who have decided to stay home and raise their children for a few years to make sure that they're stable before getting back into the workforce. Perhaps someone just needed a break from the workforce. They've been working really hard. Maybe they're burnt out. They needed a break and they're looking to get back in. But because there's a significant gap in their employment history, the functional resume allows them to categorize what functions they've performed. So, for instance, if they have communication skills, they can list what their accomplishments have been under communications, or listing customer service. They can list all of the things that they brought to the table and were able to achieve under customer service. So it's really like a laundry list to show their transferable skills, regardless of the position that they have, that maybe someone can use in any position. However, as someone who has to review these, I do not like them because it doesn't give me enough detail to show me when they've used these skills, where they've used them, how long, and how effective. So I'm not a big fan. I understand it serves a purpose and a population. If someone submits it and I have to, naturally, I will look to see where they work, what their tenure has been, and perhaps consider, or if they have a different type of resume, I might suggest them submitting a different formatted resume. So,
And I think you said it before. It's kind of a resume that you will use if you have some gaps, some sabbaticals. Maybe you took some leave for independent care, be it a child, be it an adult. You took some time out, and you don't want to bring the hiring manager's attention that maybe you haven't been working the entire time. It's not one of my favorites. It does create some problems for the HR specialist when they're trying to figure out, do you have that 1 year of specialized experience in this particular occupation? So you have to be careful to still put in some dates and times and make sure it adds up to a year when you're trying to convince somebody that you do have the skills that you need. Not my favorite, but truly we understand why it may be needed.
yeah, I think in the not only in federal government, I think overall it just brings up red flags.
Yes.
If people are choosing that particular format, and really if they don't have a good explanation as to why their employment gap is so long or for what reason. It might come across as a little shady, or I'm trying to get over, I'm really not qualified, so let me try this particular format. I'm not a fan of it. It brings up more questions than answers, particularly
Correct.
in our transaction when we're trying to hire people.
I think a good time to use it if you're trying to change into a different occupation and you can't always draw from your current experience and the job, but you have some experience someplace else. So maybe that's where it comes into play. But then again, make sure you have some times in there. It adds up to a year and is directly related to the job. It goes back to what John said. Do read your vacancy announcement. Know that the job in and out and figure out whether you can truly qualify for the job.
Yeah. So those are the three types: the chronological, the targeted, and the functional resume. So hopefully we've given you some tips to help you in your employment search. And one of these will fit based on what it is you're looking to do. So with that, welcome to Educate and Elevate Your Employment, and we'll see you next time.